Hello, my name is Clay Staires and welcome to level 2 of winning in the workplace. This is our team builder level. If you remember, we've spent 8 sessions talking about the worker level, how to be a star employee down here at this level. I've just entered into the workforce and I've done a good job. I've become a good employee with a good work ethic and so on. But Clay, how do I begin to move up? How do I begin to gain momentum and get promoted as I move up in my company? Or you might also be in this place where you have already been promoted up into the management level, but now you're going, how do I get the workers to do the work? I'm up here, but I can't get people to do what I want them to do, and it's so frustrating. Well, so often as things happen is we begin to lose sight and we lose the value of this middle level, which is called the team builder. Learning how to gather people around you, getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. Learning how to build relationships. And when you say, hey, I'm going to go, I'm heading out to lunch. Anybody want to go with me? There's actually people that raise their hand and say, yes, I want to go with you. Because you have learned to have an influence. You've learned to gather people toward you because they want to be gathered toward you. So that's what we're going to be talking about here in the team level of our winning in the workplace. So once again, let me just introduce myself. I am Clay Staires, the president of the Leadership Initiative. You may remember that I was a school teacher for 15 years. Oh, that's right. I remember starting out, I was way back, this is what goes all the way back into the 80s. When I first started teaching, I was teaching K through 12 physical education. Kindergartners. Can you imagine me teaching kindergartners? But that's where I began to learn how to have influence, how to gather people around me, how to get people to want to do what I was asking them to do. Spent 15 years doing that and loved teaching in the classroom. I taught primarily science, also did a lot of coaching. Coached track, coach football, basketball. When you're a high school coach, you coach pretty much everything. But I did a lot of coaching. And again, this is where I was learning how to build teams. Not just how to get one person to do what I wanted him to do, but how to get an entire group of people to follow me. And then after teaching for 15 years, I moved out of the teaching world into the nonprofit sector. Became an executive director of a nonprofit organization that primarily focused on training and educating college-age students. So now all of a sudden my circle was beginning to expand. I'd gone from teaching kindergartners to teaching high schoolers, and now here I am actually teaching and training and writing curriculum on leadership for a bunch of college students. Now again, as you probably know, these groups are not real easy groups to lead. They tend to have their own mindset. They have their own way of things that they want to do. So the idea of having to learn how to get people to follow me, this idea of followership became very important. But now here I am at 25 years of learning, day in and day out, learning how to do team building. So this is what we're going to be transferring during this session. This is what I want to be talking with you about, is how do we become a team builder? Now, it's all going to start out, as you're familiar with me saying, it all begins with the way that we think. And as a worker, here I am. We'll use the big word W, all right? Here I am as a worker. And I'm working my buns off every single day. But the idea, if you remember, the idea of a worker is if you want it done right, you've got to do it yourself. That is a wonderful worker mindset. And I want all of my employees to have this mindset, that they are willing to do the work. They've got a strong work ethic. However, what happens is very often we take good workers and we promote them into managers. And now in this level right here, we have multiple things to do. There's all kinds of things going on over here. Many times as a worker, I'm limited with the number of things that I have to do. But now that I become a manager, now I've got a whole slew of things that I'm responsible for. And if I maintain this manager level, or if I maintain a worker level of thinking in the midst of being a manager, now I have to, if you want it done right, you have to do this by yourself, and this by yourself, and this by yourself, and this by yourself. You have to do all of this by yourself. So if you are at a worker level right now and you're wanting to promote, you're wanting to move up, I want you to know it's going to be vital that you learn how to do team building. You learn how to build relationships. You learn how to influence people and gather people to you. If you are already a manager, and when I'm talking about being in charge of a ton of things that you feel like you have to do on your own because these other people won't do it, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I want to help you learn how to become a team builder. Now, again, it's going to be important when you're a manager. It's going to be important. There are times where you will put on the worker hat and get the work done. There's going to be other times where you are a team builder. And there will be other times, hopefully most of the time, as a manager, where you will be able to manage the work and not have to do the work. But again, it's not as you move up. It's not that you get rid of these levels of thinking. It's this that you expand. And what goes in here is this thing called the team builder. And we learn how to get other people to do it with us. And that's the way that we think as a team builder. If you want to get something done, you get other people to do it with you. So everybody say that with me, okay? Everybody, here we go. We're going to say with you. 1, 2, 3, with you. If you want it done right, get other people to do it with you. So this is what we're going to be tapping in. We're starting today here in session number 1. Hopefully you have the notes in front of you here. We're going to start, if you remember finishing in our first session on the worker level, we finished up with this idea of how to be viable in your job. How to be viable. As an employee, how do I become viable? If you remember from our definition, viable simply means capable of surviving or living successful. This is what it means to be viable. Are you at that point yet as an employee where you are capable of surviving and living successfully, especially under particular environmental conditions? Are you able to do well under pressure? Do you freak out, become dramatic under pressure, or are you able to continue to produce at the same level even though there is higher amounts of pressure on you? That's when you know you've become a viable employee. But now that it's time to step into, hey, I want to be promoted. Now that it's time to begin to be noticed and stepping out of status quo where everybody else is, it's time for you now to be viable as a team builder. So if you remember with our viable words here, we have the V-I-A-B-L-E. And the first one is vision. Remember vision here. We've got to have vision. If we don't have vision, without vision, I promise you, you will compromise. Under pressure, if you don't have a bigger vision of where you're going, then under pressure, you will compromise. You will look for a easier way. You'll look for a path of least resistance. It happens all the time. I've been guilty of doing that myself. But we have to have a vision of where we are headed. Number 2 is initiative. And again, if you want to break out of the status quo, I promise you, right now in the workforce, as you know, 70% of our American workforce right now is disengaged. This is from a Gallup poll. Is disengaged at work. So having initiative, having energy that comes from the inside, rather than waiting on energy to come from the outside to pull you into things, if you actually have something inside that drives you forward, I promise you, you will stand out in the crowd. So we have to have initiative. Next of all, we have the A here, which is the associations. This is simply making sure that we are associating with the right group of people. That we are not being associated with a bunch of slackers and a bunch of people that don't do good work, a bunch of people that don't tell the truth, that are dishonest and aren't trustworthy. We want to make sure that we associate with the right people. Next of all, we have our B, which is, I love this one, belief. You've got to believe that it's possible. You've got to believe that there is another level for you, that your life isn't going to be stuck right here, but you can grow, you can expand. It's important that you actually believe that you can do that. If you don't believe it, I promise you, you won't be able to step into it. Also, if you don't see it, you won't be able to step into it. There's a lot of folks that have a vision, they have a dream, they have a hope. They see where they want to go, but for one reason, I remember being in this place for years and years. I had a vision, but I didn't believe that that was actually going to be for me. I had a low self-esteem. I had a low concept of what was actually going to be possible for me in my life. So I had to have a coach and a mentor help me to begin believing what was actually possible for me in my life. This is the next step where we have the leadership. This is having that person, that third-party person that can look into your life and actually lead you and tell you, take a left here, turn right here, stop here for a little while, rest. No, I want to go. No, you need to rest here because we have a big mountain coming. It's having somebody that you have been willing to follow in your life. This was something for me. It took me until age 47. I hate to say this, it's kind of embarrassing, but it took me to age 47 to actually come to somebody and say, would you be a leader in my life? Would you help me navigate where I want to go? And guys, that was only 5 years ago. Again, it's kind of embarrassing to say that, but it took me that long to actually submit or actually be willing to allow somebody else to lead me. And then finally, we come down to our E, and the E is evaluation. Evaluation, again, comes from this leader. The leader doing the evaluation, as opposed to, for me, for 47 years of my life, I did my own personal evaluation. And the thing that's wrong with that, it's not that that's wrong, okay? But the thing that can be wrong with that, or the trap that's in that, is if you're not careful, you will use your own measuring stick. You will use your own capacity as a measuring stick. You will use this smaller circle rather than the bigger circle of where you are headed. You'll use your circumstances as your measuring stick rather than using your destiny. And so we want to make sure that we have a leader in our life that is able to help us with that personal evaluation along the way. So once again, this is not only important while we are a worker, but now that we are stepping into a team builder, now we are wanting to become more involved at work, or we're wanting to become more valuable in our job. We need to make sure that our viability changes as well into this area that I call a team builder. So let's dive into this a little bit. You may also, we have a picture here in the book as well. We've got this stair step here. And let's say that we're here at this level right now, and we want to go here. I love there. Always wanted to go there. For me, it was always about there. Rarely was about here. Does that make sense to you? All right. I had a real difficult time of just accepting the circumstances, of being in a place where I could be not necessarily comfortable, but I could just agree that, okay, here's where I am, and I need to be the best at where I am. I didn't do that really well. I always wanted to be someplace else. I always looked to the future. I want to be there. I want to be there. At the expense of being 100% where I was and doing a good job of where I was. So what we have here is so many times we can feel like we're stuck and we don't know how to get here. What I want to do is I want to help us take these steps that are necessary to get us where we're going. It's not just the destination that's important. You've heard this before. But it's also the process. It's how we get there. It's the journey. The journey is the thing. So we've put together in this workshop, you guys are really going to enjoy this. We've put together in this workshop the steps to help us move from here to here to here. What do I actually need to do? And I just want you to know, these aren't just steps that I came up with one time, okay? They are steps that I personally have actually taken, and I've actually coached multiple other people, many other people in these steps, and I found out that they worked for them too. If you take these steps, you will be able to move from the lower level, the entry-level employee, being stuck in just the worker mindset. You'll be able to move up and up and up in your company. And not only that, but you will be able to move up in your company being equipped with the tools necessary to not cause you to freak out. As we talked about before, if we're here in the worker mindset and we get a management position, the space between here and here is what I call freak out. I'm overwhelmed, I'm overloaded, there's just too much. Because Clay, my capacity is here, the smaller circle, but my responsibility is out here. How do I do this? How do I not freak out so much, so many times? We want to go to the conclusion, which again, if you are using yourself, if you're using your own capacity to evaluate yourself, you will think, this is where everyone goes, you will think that the best answer is for your responsibility to get smaller. Because Clay, I've got too much on my plate. I need to get things off of my plate. No, you don't need to get things off of your plate. You were not designed to be a plate manager, okay? You were designed for, catch this, sorry, my voice just cracked. You were designed for a bigger plate. That's the issue. That is what's at stake here. You were not designed to stay at this measure. You were designed to grow and expand. So that as those more responsibilities come, your capacity expands. And therefore, you are able to process greater and greater complexity.